The following program contains themes and images that may not be suitable for most audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Don't forget to follow us on social media at Panda Pig Inc. Rate, review, and subscribe. Hello again.
Hello.
It's Panda.
And it's Pig.
Greetings and salutations.
Dude, get out of my head. I was literally about to say that.
Wow.
No joke.
Wow.
I was just about to say that. I'm freaking out.
We're just that in sync, guys. That's how in sync we are.
Freaking out. Get out of my head.
I'm gonna stay in your head.
No, you don't want to be here. It's not all that good.
It's nice and cozy in here.
It's not cozy. It's scary.
It's nice.
No, it's not.
I like all these Elmer's glue cracks in here. It's very delicious.
It's the only thing holding me together.
You know, sometimes it feel like that.
It do be like that sometimes.
Okay.
Man, here we are.
Welcome back to The Heart and the Bones.
Yep.
Season 1, Episode 3 of the show.
Our Bones Watch Along podcast, where sometimes we have thoughts and talk about things.
Yes.
All
Which
right.
that's how I categorize podcasts. They just talk about things.
You know what? And that's what we're doing.
Yes, we're hopping on the bandwagon.
Absolutely.
And it's lit.
And this episode, such a breath of fresh air.
Compared to the last one.
Yes. The struggle.
Less of a headache.
It just
feels.
it feels like a Bones episode.
I feel that though.
It's
I feel
not perfect.
It's not.
But it feels like Bones.
It feels just enough.
Absolutely.
Yes. So let's get into it.
All right. So this episode's called The Boy in the Tree. Essentially, Bones and Booth have to solve the murder or determine if the body of this young boy, if he committed suicide.
Yeah.
He goes to a prominent prep school for
Disgusting.
for the children of important people.
Yep.
And there's a struggle to determine whether it was murder or whether it was suicide to protect the image of the school.
Dun,
and ultimately,
dun, dun.
it turns out he was murdered.
Dun dun dun.
Of course. So, the scene opens up, the episode opens up, you know, Hodgins and Angela are basically saying, we're bored, we need something to do.
Yep.
And
in this scene, we also see them watching Zack talking to a girl named Naomi.
From Paleontology.
Yes, who honestly, I completely forgot. So when I was rewatching this episode, I was like, oh my god, I forgot about her. I forgot about her completely.
Yep. I definitely did too. But this whole episode, Zack is just so wholesome.
Yes, he really is. But at the same time, that scene is happening. Booth and Brennan are outside the Jeffersonian waiting for Zack so they could go to the crime scene. So they're just like, what's the holdup? What's up with this kid? Well, that's more Booth. Like, what's up with this kid? Like, what the heck? So...
Yes. And also, okay, the very first scene where Angela and Hodgins are talking.
Yes.
This may be revisionist history for me, but I'm watching the way Hodgins looks at Angela.
Really?
And he gives her this look where I'm like, you could look at me like that. I wouldn't be mad at it.
I mean, didn't they date in real life too?
What?
I thought they did.
What?
Yes.
I had no idea.
Pig. I could have sworn they dated in real life for like a bit, and then eventually they broke up and he ended up dating someone else. But yeah, I swear they dated, like in real life. Like, I could be wrong. Maybe TJ Thine and Michaela Conlon didn't date, but I swear I thought they did.
Well, okay. 2007, Conlon was dating TJ Thine, and they even got engaged.
Yep. Told you. You just found that out? Oh, honey.
My heart hurts. Why couldn't they make it work?
You know, because Hodgins and Angela stay in Bones, and Michaela and TJ are real life.
Well, you know what? I knew that chemistry was real.
Same. Oh, definitely. Definitely. It really was. Because even then, like, in that moment, I was just kind of looking at them like, oh, you have a future together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. So when we get to Zack, he's so wholesome.
He lacks the street smarts and the social awareness. He's a genius, but he's adorable.
The fact that he's just like, his logic when he starts talking about the whole take a hint part, and he just does not understand what it means to take a hint.
This is also the episode where we see Zack start to see Booth as this father figure / male role model.
Yes.
And it's so sweet.
It is so sweet. And before we get to that, I wanted to say that there's a part where because Hodgins and Andra are like, come on, Zack, go.
Oh, yeah.
Go to this crime scene.
Right.
And he's really like trying to vent, like, I don't know what this means. What gets me is you get Hodgins, he's totally ignoring what he's saying about take a hint, but you just hear Hodgins saying, come on, throwing yourself into your work. It always makes everything work. It's fine. You're fine. If you're stressed, throw yourself into your work. And honestly, I felt that so hard.
Unless your work is what's making you stressed.
Yes. But him saying that, I was like, Hodgins, you speak in facts, though.
Yep. It'll all be fine. You won't notice the house is on fire if you're just focused on your work.
Exactly. But yes, so when they end up in the car, they definitely, you see that dynamic where Zack is looking up to Booth like, give me advice, please. Please give me advice.
He just wants to learn.
He just wants to learn.
Sweet.
It's so wholesome. What's not wholesome is Booth's orange sunglasses.
No.
Like, question mark? Excuse me? Who did this to you, honey?
This is pre-cocky belt buckle.
Yes,
he had to do something.
And he couldn't see his socks yet. So.
True. They were trying out different, quirks with him. And
yes.
And clearly,
orange,
for good reason, the orange sunglasses did not make the cut.
They had to go.
They were gone.
Yes.
They're gone. And also, Bones is so cute in this part because you can tell she's trying,
Yeah,
like she's hearing what Booth says, and there's just this innocence about her and Zack where when it comes to street smarts, they don't get it, but they try.
And it's so cute.
So in the scene, she's clearly upset, and her face is very passive aggressive, and Booth is like trying to scoot Zack off of him like a bug.
Yeah,
and he's looking at Bones and he's like, what is wrong with you? And she's like, well, you told me I was too task-oriented. So then today I say good morning and you say I should focus on the case.
Yes.
And her face,
her
gosh,
face
so
was
cute.
Priceless. I loved it so much.
She's also so sensitive.
Yes.
But she tries to hide it because she's clearly hurt.
Yes, of course.
Because she tried to take a suggestion.
And
he didn't see her effort.
But it's interesting because she's not as sassy in this episode compared to the last one.
No.
She's more, I guess, down to earth in a way.
I see them more as a team.
more heart in her.
More
heart and heart.
And they're more of a team.
Yes.
This episode where I was like, now we're getting into the heart and the bone.
There you go.
Here we're getting into it.
Yes. So moving on, we end up at the crime scene. Mm-hmm. And when they're trying to get into the preparatory place, I was just dying when Zack's like, yes, and one crack assistant.
Yes.
And I was like, yep.
He's so quirky.
I feel that. Just the wholesomeness continues.
And then it's weird because Booth says he doesn't understand the Latin, but wasn't he like an altar boy? And doesn't he like speak Latin in later episodes?
I honestly don't remember. I'll have to, catch that when that happens.
At least I think so.
Because he even brings it up later at the end where he's like, what's this in Latin? Mm-hmm. But I was just dying because this is another example of how Bones and Zack, on how their whole street smart just does not correlate. Like, you ask them, like, a sarcastic question, and they'll just tell you straight up what this means. Mm-hmm. So, when Booth is trying to read, what was it that the phrase was on the sign?
Something, I carry my things.
It was something like, was it Latin? It was something.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, what does that even mean anyway? And you hear both of them go, I carry with me all my things. And they just look at him.
As if he should know.
Yes. And I'm like, I mean, I don't blame Booth. That was gibberish to me. But okay. But that's another example of what we're talking about. It's like the wholesomeness that they really bring.
The divide between squints and law enforcement in this one.
There you go.
You see it. You do see it.
Yes.
So the body's at the Hanover Prep Academy.
Yes.
And it seems to be a young boy who's hanging from a tree. Mm-hmm. And it's this scene where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm watching Bones.
Yes.
Like, I'm watching an episode of Bones. Because the very continual thing on most episodes is Bones and Booth going to the crime scene, the body being in some weird place, Bones offending the local law enforcement, and...
But think about it this way, though. Because even though she was technically insulting the law enforcement by not remembering, like, the sheriff's name, technically, she was being nice just to the dead. Not the living, because she's like, I remember the bones.
Also, she gives an explanation where she seems to have an issue with sheriffs in particular.
Yes.
Because they're elected officials.
Yes.
So... And
she believes that they are not looking out for, like, justice. They are just looking out for themselves so they get reelected again.
But I don't really see that in this sheriff in this episode.
Yeah, they don't really touch up on that. Like, they don't really emphasize on it as much as you would think,
Yeah. Like, in other episodes, there are, crooked cops and things like that.
Yeah,
but with this one, I was like, man, this sheriff, she's just trying to do her job,
She's trying to be friendly, and it's funny because she even gets shut down later. So it's like, dang, she just can't get a break. She's just trying to be decent to these people, and boom, shut down.
Mm-hmm. Again, and when I'm watching the scene, I'm just so baffled how this was aired second, because it just...
Or third.
Yeah, you're right. Aired as the third episode. It's just weird, because it doesn't feel like a third episode. It kind of feels flopped with the other one, where this one feels more...
Like it falls in line of what they were going for and what they do in the long run.
Especially since the Homeland Security agent was... No, I'm getting backwards.
You are getting backwards. That's the other one, honey.
I had a thought about that, but I can't remember.
It's okay.
But either way,
You just wish it was.
I wish it was second, instead. But you know what? We can't have nice things, so I'm just gonna deal with it.
But there are good things about the second episode.
There
to
are.
Admire, so
just continually to console me.
But with the scene though, I was just like, my goodness, it really took this prep school. Took so long to find the body. Like, I get it.
2 weeks.
2 weeks though. Like, you're trying to tell me that you guys are supposed to be, like, this prestigious preparatory academy, and you didn't spot a dead body hanging for 2 weeks? Mm-hmm. Seriously? Like even
you don't have landscaping?
Right. Like, even in The Wizard of Oz, people were able to point out, oh, look, there's a hanging body in this short scene.
Which is like a little nub when you're looking at it.
But when you're in real life, you would think, oh, hey, there's a dead body hanging from afar. Wouldn't you notice that?
Or how about the circling crows?
Yes. Hello. Like, all right. I get it. Movie magic. Whatever.
Yep. Just explain it away. Suspend your disbelief.
Yes. I just have to deal with movie magic.
I know. And then the head... The boy's head pops off and
right at that moment,
and Bones catches it.
Yep.
I was like, that's some cinema right there.
There you go, movie magic again.
And then we open up back at the lab. They look and they see the body is of a teenage boy. Yes. They're trying to determine if he's Hispanic or Asian. Mm-hmm. Angela's thinking Hispanic. He's obviously Catholic. What is that necklace that he's pulled out?
So it's something. It looked... I couldn't really tell. The reason why I kind of know stuff like about this is because Panda was raised Catholic. But I usually, I wasn't really good with these type of things because I was more focused on my belief. I wasn't big on...
You didn't pay attention to the different objects and their symbolism?
So what could have been on that, it's kind of like a little token on the necklace. It's like it's either the Virgin Mary or it's either like a saint. Mm-hmm. But it's something along those lines, and sometimes it says a little something on it, but it's definitely falls in the Catholic category. Mm-hmm. Like a lot, it's very common in Catholic category. Like even sometimes it's on a necklace, sometimes you carry it in your wallet, you carry it in your hand, you pray with it. At least that's to my understanding on how I was raised and how I understand it.
Oh, interesting. So they determine he's probably a good old Catholic boy.
Yes.
And they find a cochlear implant, meaning that he was deaf or hard of hearing.
Yes. And what it was interesting on the comment Bones made was, the birds were trying to get the implant. Like, this is what the birds were trying to get at. And I'm like, were the birds really trying to get the implant? I'm pretty sure they were going for the decomposing flesh, but okay.
I will counter your offer.
Okay.
Is that if the implant was kind of sticking out, it's metal and shiny.
Are they attracted to that?
Birds are attracted to shiny things.
Pig is a bird expert.
It is. I am.
She is.
She is.
She is.
Yeah. So
unless she wants to be an it, that's cool too.
Mm-hmm. Attracted to shiny things. So I'm assuming because
did not know that.
The body was up in the tree, sun shining on a little fleck of the metal.
Really?
Then they get attracted to it. Plus, there's flesh. It's a smorgasbord.
So that's probably why sometimes random birds just drop dead because they end up in the wrong spot just because they feel like, ooh, shiny.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Did not know that. Well, alrighty then. That answers my question on that.
Yeah, that is, it's both. And then they make their way over to speak with the principal and stuff.
Yeah, they're back at the preparatory again.
Mm-hmm. They're super nervous about press, and it's pretty clear they want Booth to rule this a homicide.
Yes. And
Bones calls Booth over the phone to let her know that they identified the boy by the serial number of his implant. Mm-hmm. And it reveals, well, not the implant, but they found evidence that may lead to it not being a suicide.
Yes. But instead, Booth is not really... He's kind of... What was it he was trying to do? He was kind of lead the conversation away to, like, make it look like... that's not what they were talking about.
Yeah, he was kind of putting on a show
yes.
in front of the principal to direct him in a different way.
Yes, because of how they were acting and stuff. And, I mean, again, I wouldn't want to be in a prep school. Like, just no.
And this episode really focuses on Booth's kind of hatred for classism.
Yes.
And his belief that people have value no matter what their station is.
Yes.
And
the whole concept of all people are created equal.
Yep. And Hanover Prep represents this pretentious, we have more value.
We are above you. We are above everyone.
We need discretion.
We have class. Mm-hmm. You don't.
I have class.
And you don't.
Oh, man. But yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Oh, so that, yeah. But I did have a question, though. So they were saying, because they talked about the confidential files, and, Booth was saying, he wants it. Could he get it without a warrant? Is that possible?
No, he's going to need to get a warrant.
Oh, okay. So he actually needs a warrant for that.
Yeah.
All right. Because I was kind of wondering about that. I'm like, can you do that, though?
Yeah, you're going to need a warrant for it, and because it's a murder investigation, he's probably going to get it.
Yeah.
It's better if they just work with him, because getting a warrant is a lot of work. First of all, you have to write it up.
Yeah.
You got to file it.
Yeah.
A judge has to take the time to want to sign it.
It's a whole process.
Yeah. It's a whole thing.
That's why, trials take forever and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, for this, it's better that they just
Booth
work with
tries
him.
to do a lot of sly things.
He
too.
really does.
And this is one of those where it's like, look, he's trying to just talk you into it. Mm-hmm. Like, come on, Booth.
There's some parts where I'm like, Booth, you're a good cop. And other parts where I'm like, dude, you would be fired.
Right.
Fired. Or should be fired.
Should be fired.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we move on to the lab.
Back at the lab.
Back at the lab. And then, what is it we were talking about? They were, Bones informs Booth.
Yeah, they basically, they figure out that from the serial number that it's Nestor Olivos.
Yes.
And he's the son of a Venezuelan ambassador.
Unfortunately.
But something that they figure out from observing his remains is that his hyoid was broken.
Yes.
And for someone at his age, his hyoid is too flexible for it to be broken from hanging.
Exactly.
Like, meaning that he was probably murdered.
Yes.
And we gotta smack ourselves because Agent Santana is already back.
Yep,
Remember from
there he is again.
Last episode, we're like, we never see him again. Boom. Next episode, here he is.
Psych, I'm back.
You know, and I was really curious about the whole hyoid bone thing. So I actually looked it up to see if that was a real thing where...
Oh, really? Okay.
Kids' hyoid bones are more flexible.
Wikipedia, what you got?
Okay. So, a 1992 article by American forensic anthropologist D.H. Ubelaker. It's in the Journal of Forensic Sciences. So,
okay, then.
Here's the quote, and then I'll dumb it down, okay?
All right.
So, the literature suggests that in all types of strangulation, the thyroid is the most likely neck structure to be fractured. Fracture of the hyoid is most common in manual strangulation, in which about 34% of all victims show a fractured hyoid, 30% fractured thyroid, and 1% fractured cricoid? CRICOID. Let me know.
Chrysoid. But the doid?
In ligature strangulation, so ligature like you've been strung up, the frequency of the hyoid fracture falls to about 11% compared to 32% thyroid, 9% cricoid. Hangings produce only 8% of fractured hyoids, 15% fractured thyroids, and blah blah blah.
So
anyways,
what does that mean?
The literature suggests that hyoid fractures are rare in children and infants.
Okay.
Since hyoid components are not fully ossified and are more flexible than adults, meaning that
if he was hung, he's less likely
to have his hyoid broken. If an hyoid is broken, it's more likely from a manual strangulation than from dying immediately when he was hung.
It's probably why, like, a lot of kids get away with just like, oh, look, I got a cord around my neck.
Yes. Kids are wild.
Kids are wild.
The other thing, though, that I love about the next scene where they go and they see the FBI, because they're trying to declare whether or not it's a murder.
Well, there were some things I actually did like about the lab, though.
Oh, okay.
So I liked when Booth was trying to get on the platform, Zack pushes Booth, and I was just dying, because he's just like, don't push me, don't touch me, and I'm just like,
right, and then
unfortunate.
And then Booth is like, I want a security card, and Bones is like, I want a gun. I was like, you can get your own gun, Bones. Like, why does she want a gun from law enforcement? She could get a concealed carry.
I don't know.
Or, I don't know if DC is open carry or not, but, like, there's this constant complaint of Bones wanting a gun.
She
and
just
I'm like,
keeps asking for it.
You can have one. Go buy one. It's America if you want one so bad.
Do you think it's maybe approval from Booth, maybe? Do you feel like it's maybe something along those lines of him approving her of having a gun?
I don't know. I think they've set up this weird system where it's like somehow she's going to get a gun because she's a consultant, but that doesn't work.
But you also have to remember she was also very pissy in the beginning of the scene because of the whole how he was talking to her on the phone.
Yeah, he said to her, we'll go over all the boring details later.
And it's funny because when he starts calling her Bones again, when she only gets mad about him calling her Bones when she's already pissed off at him. Any other time, she doesn't really mind.
No.
So it's hilarious when she's like, don't call me Bones. And
I realized
all right, honey.
We forgot to mention when we were starting the episodes is that Booth is the only one who calls Dr. Brennan Bones. That's his nickname for her. And
it's so endearing. I love that about him. But it shows his character, like how, he would just nickname everyone, like Hodgins is Bug Boy. And then you got Bones and Angela, I don't even know. I don't know if he gave her a nickname.
I don't remember either.
No, it's only really Hodgins who gives Angela a nickname, and he calls her Angie. So, I don't know. But even in the scene, though, you notice how they really keep trying to push the whole, like, trust your gut instinct thing. Like, they really keep trying to push Brennan. And it's just like, all right, I can see what this is all about.
Yes.
But
they definitely push that.
You wanted to talk about the FBI.
Yeah. I actually really love Dr. Goodman.
Really?
Yeah, I think he just kind of adds this adult to the show, but he's witty, he's classy, you know.
I remember him and forget him at the same time. It's like, he was there, but he's not enough for me to be like, oh yeah, he's part of the gang.
Yeah, but when I watched the first couple of episodes, season, whatever, I'm like, honestly, he could have stuck around and I wouldn't have minded.
I wouldn't have minded either. I actually did like him. I thought the whole archaeology concept of him was great, but they don't show that till like later.
Yeah, and he makes more sense as there being the head of the Jeffersonian, because ultimately it's a research museum type place. It's not a CSI lab. Yeah, they just do that on the side, and he kind of reminds you that they're consultants. Yes, is why I liked him.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that.
Yeah. So then Booth and Bones get in the car.
Yep, they get in the car.
And this is where they really have the discussion about
all men are created equal.
Yes. Where Bones is like, well, some people are better than other people. Some people are smarter, you know? Yeah. But I think what Booth is trying to get at is the fact that, you know,
treating people. You should treat people decently. Like, everyone should be treated decently. There shouldn't really be status in a way it is.
He's saying human life is valuable regardless of status. Yes. So therefore, this boy deserves the most of the investigation that he should get. Yes. Regardless of protecting
your image.
The image of the prep school.
Yep. Yeah. I could see that. And I really did like that. Even though it's very short, I still liked that a lot.
And unfortunately, this kind of stuff is true in a lot of investigations where some victims just don't get the dedication that they need. They don't. From pressure of status and appearances and things like that.
It's unfortunate.
Things are better now, but we have a long way to go.
Yes. It's so strange where it's like all this time has passed, but it feels like everything is being learned so slowly by society. It's crazy to me.
It's like we've come so far, but we have so far to go.
Exactly.
And then they're driving to go to the Olivos family to let them know that they've identified Nestor as the body. And Booth is like trying to encourage Bones to be more sympathetic with the family. Yeah. And, you know, Bones gives the ambassador Nestor's necklace back, and they're like,
you find that interesting on how that's their way of confirming that's Nestor, is like, yes, we found him. This is my evidence. Like, nothing. Like, there wasn't really anything else. They were just like, this is the evidence.
Yeah, they didn't really go far to explain.
No, like how, like, oh, this is your child. Thing. Like, you know, like, oh, they could have talked about how, like, they identified through the implant.
That's true.
But no, they were like, here you go. This is his necklace. We know you probably know that this is his necklace.
The only thing I kept thinking about during this scene was how much I don't understand sending your kids to a boarding school.
Yeah.
I just don't understand that.
You realize how that's such a big thing even back then, where it's like, if you don't act straight, I'm gonna send you to a boarding school.
Or like these rich families.
Or boot camp.
Yeah, absolutely. And these rich families sending their kids to these schools. And it's
preparatory schools to straighten them up, straighten them out.
What they need is their parents.
They do need
their parents. Rich
kids
need their parents too.
They really do. Especially at this age. They really need their parents.
Yeah, it's like little kids need their parents, but I think
the older you get,
you forget, and you're like, oh, my kid's 12. He can,
yes,
he can maneuver the microwave. He could probably stay home alone.
Like, they could brush their teeth, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to need, like, psychiatric advice.
Right. Or my kid's 15, he can drive, he can do all this. He doesn't need me, he can go to school. No, that's when your kids need you the most.
Yes,
that's when they're figuring out who they are.
They don't know what to do in their life. It's getting scarier. Just because they can walk and run, drive, cook, like, that doesn't mean that they can conquer the whole world now, as much as the attitude is definitely there.
Yep,
but
absolutely.
That doesn't mean they actually know everything.
Nope, they do not.
Nope, even we don't.
The older you get, the more you realize you don't know.
Nope. That's why a lot of people say you learn from the kids.
Mm-hmm.
They remind you.
Of how you should be.
Yes, be a decent human being, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, you are correct.
Yes. So, yeah. So now we're going back to the lab.
Yep. Back to the lab.
And Zack brings up Naomi's take a hint again. And now you realize Hodgins actually is listening.
Mm-hmm. Also, can we talk about how much of a bitch Naomi is for saying that?
Yes. And it's just like, honey, you know how Zack is, and you can't be a little more forgiving. Like...
But even so, like, that's a total lack of communication.
Yes.
Relationships aren't about giving hints. Clearly, he's inexperienced.
Yes.
And you've talked to him in a social setting, so you know the kind of guy he is.
Right. So it's like, it's crazy to think that she gave him the time of day.
Right. And if she gave him the time of day, you'd think she'd have the enough social awareness on her end.
Right.
To let him know if he's doing something that bothers her. Like, I hate this whole, like, oh, well, he's got to figure it out. No. How are you supposed to know?
He can't read your mind.
Yeah. Like, that's what bothered me most about this. Like,
that's a lot on how, in general in life, too, a lot of relationships fail because of lack of communication.
Yeah, and look how pressed he is this whole episode trying to figure it out.
He even takes it all the way to the end. He just does not know what to do.
He carries that storyline through.
He really does. He could have his own little segment and just be like, okay, take out all the scenes of just Zack. Just stressed about Naomi. Like, that could have been the entire episode, just him.
I know. Poor guy.
Poor kid. He's so wholesome.
and then Hodgins doesn't help, and he's like, I'm gonna ask Booth.
Yeah, because Hodgins like, go talk to someone earthy. Because we connect up here.
In the brain.
But you need someone to help you down there. You need to talk to someone earthy.
And from that scene, we transition to Booth's office, where they're talking to the psychologist.
Yes.
She reveals that Nestor was suicidal, but his parents wouldn't put him on antidepressants.
Right.
And she says specifically that he was alienated by culture, language, and, his disability.
Right.
And Hanover Prep continues to push for a suicide declaration based on that.
Seriously push. They push so hard just to get them off their backs.
Mm-hmm. And it's this point where they actually bring up that Nestor was on vacation. Yeah. Supposedly on his vacation with his roommate. This whole time.
You would think that'd be some vital information they could have brought up earlier, but
Yeah. It just makes me hate the prep school even more. Like, they do a really good job of making you hate them.
Yeah, but it'd be like that. That's what they want.
Yeah, they did a good job of making us hate them.
Right.
And showing just how the bullying goes all the way to the top.
So annoying. So annoying.
Terrible.
But it's okay, because then we end up in the Chinese restaurant again. But this time is when you actually see Booth introduce Bones to, like, the chef. So you could really see, this was supposed to be the second episode.
Yeah.
Because this was when they were supposed to introduce the restaurant.
Yeah, Sid, the owner of Wong Fu, the Chinese restaurant. And I actually really like the dynamic of the restaurant as a meeting place.
Yes. And I also really like the whole Sid will pick your orders for you, trust Sid. Then you have this dynamic of, you know, they have like, they're going to have a bond together. Like, Booth already knows them and now they have a connection. I really liked that.
The idea of going to a restaurant and they just know what you want and you don't have to order is so enticing to me.
I would love that.
Like, can someone do that for my life?
Right.
Like, that just sounds amazing.
I feel that, though. I really feel that. And, of course, here's Hodgins' picky ass, like, oh, yeah, I'm going to still pick something.
Yeah, Karma's going to get him.
Exactly. It's just...
I also feel like you could have gotten some really interesting storylines out of a Chinese restaurant over a diner because a lot of diverse groups of people eat Chinese food.
Yes.
And I feel like it's not as diverse of a group of people that eat at a diner.
Right. But I mean, you get sick of Chinese food eventually, so you can't have it every time.
That's true, but you get sick of diner food too.
Yeah, I feel like they could have, like, rotated a bit.
Yeah, I feel like they could have kept the diner, but also kept this place because it's an interesting, you know, premise. Yeah. And this is also...
they could have kept all three places, you know.
Yeah, I agree. The bar,
the diner, and the Chinese place, yes. But, okay, so this part really makes me laugh because when they bring out the pictures, I'm like, if this does not literally just signify the whole concept of eating while watching Bones... I don't know what does it, because they literally have pictures of the crime scene, the body on the table, and they're about to eat, and even Sid brings up, hey, like, this is a restaurant, I got people here, I got guests, what are you doing? And it's like, this literally...
It's literally telling you... Like, this is the type of people we are.
Yes, this is who we are.
This is who we are.
Is this who we are?
This
is who we are.
It is. It's also in this scene where I feel like you see, like, Booth's gut and Bones' brains are a great pair.
But then you also see Angela start bringing up her street smart again. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah, she's always bringing in an interesting perspective.
She does. And then the whole, what was it? I'm more open-minded than you think, baby. Something along those lines. I was like, oh, Angela, you flirt.
She is. I love her, but also, it's weird because I'm a very territorial person, so I'm putting my brain in Bones' brain, and I would be very jealous, but at the same time, you know Angela's intentions are her just being a flirty person at this point.
At this point. However, comma... That's actually Pig saying. She says that quite a lot. So if you guys want to steal that, feel free to.
Yeah, but I got in her head.
She did. She got in my head. So now I say, however, comma.
Or semicolon. We do different types of sentences here.
Man, I lost my train. I thought we were talking about Angela.
Yeah, I was saying how Angela's flirty. But she's not a threat at this time. She's not a threat.
And I mean, like, okay, I remember it now.
Okay.
However, comma, if Booth were willing to get down with her, she would not say no. Like, especially, like, right now, before Bones, I feel like she would have been down for it. I agree. However, comma, when Bones and Booth do start to have something, and it's more, you know, in their face, more obvious, she will back off. And she just defends Bones to the very end. You know? So that's how I feel about her.
I agree with you.
Yes.
I agree with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So now Bones and Booth go and they interview Tucker, the roommate. Yeah. He reveals that he was good friends with Nestor and that he lied for Nestor, that Nestor was traveling with him for the holiday or whatever.
Yes.
So that Nestor could go and meet a girl.
Yep. And it's funny because this is how you could see, like, again, the time. But I mean, it's probably still going on, but you really see, like, at this time, they're really bringing up retard is a bad word. Like, don't say that. And it's like, even, like, still, you know, you shouldn't really say it. but it's not used as much, at least where we are.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really hear it as much. Mm-hmm. But it's really interesting how here you really brought it up, like, oh, retard. It's a bad word.
Something that's interesting is how, like, euphemisms for mental illness are considered politically correct, and then they kind of age out and become offensive, and then there's a new word. So, like, for example, mentally retarded, you know, the word retarded just means underdeveloped.
Yes.
Like, inherently.
Right.
And for a period of time, like, that was the correct term. Or, like, the word idiot was a classification for, you know, your IQ, or same thing with moron. Like, all of these things that are considered moron. Insults now were once like medical terms,
and now it's an insult.
Yeah, so it's kind of tough because it's like it's hard to keep up, but at the same time, I feel like it's
funny because like even like dick can be a bad word, but then at the same time, it could be someone's name.
How in the world?
It could also be someone's body part.
Sidebar: how is Dick short for Richard? Tell me this.
I have been saying this. Like, for forever with Pig. Like, how is... I just can't.
I feel like it just started by someone who hated someone named Richard.
And they just started calling him a dick.
Yeah.
But then for some reason, that became...
Yeah, like, it just rolled out.
Yes, it just rolled out. And I know there are other names that it's the same exact way. It's totally something different. The nickname is completely different. Mm-hmm. But with this one specifically, yes, Richard, Dick... Seriously?
Yeah.
You're fired.
I feel you.
Whoever said it, you're fired.
In this scene, I realized that I was so much more entertained by this episode that I wasn't really looking at any, like, law enforcement inconsistencies.
Yes.
Which, you know, I could nitpick a lot of episodes, so I'm only gonna
be nitpicking.
Yeah, I'm only gonna point out things that I think are interesting or educational.
Yeah. But if we get to that point... Definitely.
But in this scene, I was going to point out something that they did good, which is it's low-hanging fruit, but the fact that they didn't interview minors alone.
Yes.
Like,
I noticed that
you have to interview them with the presence of their parents. Would they do it in an interrogation room? Probably not. But at least the parents were there. Yeah, and I love how the dad is like, well, if Tucker did it, he's got to say it.
That had me dying. I was like, dang, just throw him under the bus, would you?
I was like, that's my mom. She told me, like, if any of my siblings would murder somebody, she's like, yeah, I'm turning you in. Like, you're gone. Like, you kill somebody, that's not cool.
Think about it this way. That's probably why Tucker's at that prep school. He's just like, screw this kid. This is your punishment. You end up here. That's why he acted the way he did.
True. True. But this prep school, it's not like a boot camp or anything. It's like for rich kids.
It's just for rich kids. They're just a bunch of idiots there. Mm-hmm. So, at least that's how I'm just calling them. I apologize to your prep school children. I apologize.
We love you dearly.
Love, peace, whatever. The last
around the
one
world
love,
for
peace,
generations.
Love, peace, joy? Something like that.
Yes.
Whatever it is. But yes, so now we move on to, Nestor's room. No, it was the ambassador, was it?
Yeah, yes. So the ambassador shows up to Bones' office.
Yes, that's what it was.
And she shows a video of Nestor receiving the implant. So he's first hearing his mother's voice. Mm-hmm.
Fun fact, the picture that she gave, what he's wearing is what altar boys wear when they go to church.
What's it called?
I don't know what the clothing is called. I just know that what he's wearing is what altar boys wear. The ones who actually participate. So what you're telling me
is you're a fake Catholic.
Low-key, yeah. I never got to be an altar boy. One, I'm not a boy. Two.
There's always time.
Okay, tell me this though. When I was younger, I was like, I want to be a priest. And then I was like, wait, you gotta be a man to be a priest. It's a Catholic.
I think you'd be a great priest.
Because I remember my mom's like, you can't be a priest, you'd have to be a nun. And I was like, but I want to be a priest.
Yeah. Yeah, you break that glass ceiling.
I will. I'll shatter it.
And you be a priest.
I'll be a priest.
Yeah.
And I will be fabulous.
You'll be a fabulous priest.
And I also figured I couldn't get married, so I was like, all right.
You be a married female priest.
I feel like at that point I'm just a pastor in a Christian church at that point.
I mean, yeah.
That's kind of what it is. That's what it turned into.
True.
Yes.
Well,
So
she's showing her the video, basically. Mrs. Olivos is saying, it's kind of interesting because she's basically telling Bones, you are a really smart lady, and I respect that.
Right.
But I'm a mother, and as a mother, I have a certain knowledge that maybe you don't.
Yeah.
And she says this in a very non-condescending way.
Yes.
Which is good, because a lot of people are intimidated by Bones, and Bones kind of yes and no acts like she knows everything.
Yes.
And she shows her this video, and
this is why she's the ambassador. The way she talks
the ambassador. And she's basically saying Hanover's going to do whatever they can to cover this up. Yes. She just wants Bones to know, please look at this boy and understand that a boy who's gone through this and lived through this miracle would not want to kill themselves.
Yes. And I feel like that's debatable, though, too, because in general, like, even if someone's been through a miracle, does not mean they would always be happy, though. Mm-hmm. In general, doesn't mean they would want to keep living.
It's kind of a balancing board, because when it comes to people who are going through depression and suicidal thoughts, a lot of the times you may not guess that they're suicidal.
Exactly.
And people will say that they were surprised, they had no idea.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's very obvious. And her kid's going to a boarding school.
Right.
And she hadn't seen him in 2 weeks, and she didn't put in a missing persons report.
She was just like, oh, he's fine. He's fine. And that kind of shows, like, she didn't really have as much time for him. Mm-hmm. When she should have, But she was the ambassador. Busy lady.
Yeah. That's true.
But at the same time, like, I understand as a mother, she would just want to be like, my child was happy. Like she knows her child is what she was trying to say. And it's one thing to be like that. And I just feel like in real life, sometimes you think you know someone, you think you know what's going on in their head, but
that's true.
You never actually truly know someone.
Yeah.
You never actually know what's going in their head.
And Bones reassures her too. She's like, you know what? I'm going to find out the truth.
And I like that. How she said that and how she was very sincere. I really liked that about her character. It was very good.
And then they go and they run scenarios on the Angelatron to determine how Nestor's hyoid was broken.
There it is again. Mm-hmm. The Angelatron.
I know. I love the Angelatron.
I love it so much.
Basically, is that the part where they figure out that it took 8 days or something?
No.
Or is that later?
No, that's later. This is the part where they're just realizing, it's not gonna break. It could not break. Or is it this one?
I can't remember.
No. It happens later because they find the special K.
Oh, yes. So they're running different scenarios on how his hyoid... Oh, that's right. How his hyoid would be broken from the hanging, and they're basically saying there's no way the hanging on its own would have fractured his hyoid bone.
Yes.
And then from there, they end up going to Nestor's room at the boarding school.
Yep.
And Booth knocks out this security guard.
That was so funny.
Who turns out to be from the Venezuelan embassy.
Yeah, he was working for the ambassador. Mm-hmm. She wanted someone to go down there to find something in, Nestor's room to prove, like, hey, guys, my son did not kill himself.
I think what she was trying to prove was the fact that anybody could have gone in there to hurt her son.
Yes, because that was also the bigger one, too.
Because the agent is like, and clearly I failed because I didn't go undetected.
Right.
And apparently the school told her that it was definitely a suicide, even though Bones declared it a homicide.
Which is so messed up. Like, come on, guys. Like, it shows a lot about, the headmaster again. Like, come on now. Yeah. Seriously? Like, you're going to tell the ambassador this, even after just talking to the authorities. Like, hey, Like, they just told you they don't think it's a suicide, but you're just gonna be like, oh yeah, screw you guys, I'm gonna tell the ambassador of Venezuela, yeah, your son definitely killed himself. Alrighty then.
No, and did you detect a hint of jealousy from Booth in this scene?
Really? Oh, yes, now that I think about it. When they were talking.
Yeah.
When Bones was talking to the guy, the security
guard?
Yes.
He says something like, the power, like, he says something like, if someone says something in a Spanish accent, it's interesting.
And she just kind of sits there for a moment, and then Booth has to, like...
He makes a face.
Come on, let's go now. Like, and he even looks at the security like, dude, bruh.
I was like, the power of an accent, unless it's an American accent. Yeah. It's more interesting.
Well, anything is more interesting than your own.
Yeah, that's true. And then they go back to Nestor's room, and they're looking through his music, and they find the DVD. Now, when they're looking at how he has his music organized, Booth is like, oh, girls organize their stuff alphabetically, and guys organize it by good stuff at the top, bad stuff at the bottom right. I was like, I don't organize my stuff alphabetically. Absolutely not.
I think I go more like genre. Genre, or I even just, I don't know, I honestly just take
I would do genre or like color of the case.
Or artist. Just keep the artists together. Sometimes I do that.
And sometimes I'll switch it up depending on if I just want it to look different.
Or sometimes I say, screw it. It's just going up.
Yeah.
Just put it up there.
So then the DVD that they found, they end up watching it.
Oh, and also, Booth mentions a thing. He says, enjoyment is the opposite of suicide. See?
I was like, damn.
I was like, all right, Booth. Okay, we get it. We know. We know you don't think it's a suicide. Yes. Yeah. But yes, they discover that there is a porn DVD in a Mozart CD case.
Yep, it's of Nestor and an unidentified female.
Yes.
Zack finds the porn kinky.
Wild and kinky sex.
Even though it's not at all.
But he said wild and kinky. And here Hodgins has heartburn at this point.
Yes, because he didn't listen to Sid.
We're back at the lab, by the way, guys. We're back at the lab when this is happening.
Where they didn't just sit in Nestor's room, kick off their shoes, and then the gang just
came along. No, they ended up back at the lab, and they watched some of it with the gang, and that's when Zack was like, oh yeah, wild and kinky sex.
And Hodgins is like, no, this is very basic beginner stuff, my guy.
As he burps again because of his heartburn.
You gotta listen to Sid.
Trust the words.
And then you notice how, like, Hodgins, and again, I'm just gonna be on this Hodgins and Angela train.
Yes.
He's like, Angela, do you have any bicarbonate?
Yes.
Like, Angela, my tummy hurts. Come take care of me.
Like, you could already see, like, he's just, like, finding comfort through Angie. Like, he's just like, you're my girl already. Ever since.
Always his girl.
Yeah.
Then they go back to the school to tell the principal about the sex tape.
Yes.
And he's like not even the least bit surprised. Apparently all these kids are making amateur porn and swapping it around. And clearly this was before our time because...
Oh, we also got more sex tapes prior to this scene. We got more sex tapes from the sheriff, who was aware, so that's why
they get the sex tapes after they tell them about it, because what happens is they tell the principal about the sex tapes.
It was after.
Yep, and he's like, we get those all the time, but we turn them over to law enforcement, so we don't have them.
And then that's when they come, and then now Booth is giving her the cold shoulder now, too. Like, you're not doing your job. Obviously, Bones is right. You just want to keep your status.
Yeah. But what I like about the scene where they're talking to the principal...
Yes.
...is this is where Bones and Booth really feel like a team.
Yeah, I like that. I feel like the episode in general, too. You just feel more, like, solid.
Yeah, but this scene in particular, because Booth, like, threatens to take the principal down to the station, and Bones is like...
Yeah, he doesn't like you.
Yeah, he'll do it. He don't like you.
I love that. I was like, yeah, You got him threatening and you got her telling him straight, like, no, seriously.
Yeah, they have a lot more moments like that in the show where they're just kind of like, yeah, don't mess with her. Don't mess with him. It's gonna happen.
I love it. I love that so much.
And then the principal tells them who's in the sex tape. Her name's like Camden Destry. Mm-hmm. And so they confront her and her mom. Yes. Camden's like, I wasn't involved with Nestor. I don't know what you're talking about. And they show her the tape, and she's like, I had no idea. Why loved him. Why would he do this?
Blah, blah, blah. And honestly, Booth just doing that, I'm like, I hate liars too. I feel you, Booth. Mm-hmm. I feel you. Like, props to you. Even if you're humiliating her. Yeah. Props to you.
And then after this scene, they get the other tapes from the sheriff. Yes. And then on one of the tapes, they find it's Camden's mother and Nestor's roommate, Tucker, doing the dance with no pants.
Yes. Like, whoa, plot twist.
And they interview Tucker, and Tucker reveals that they were
Hold on.
Blackmailing
Go back.
What?
Because something I want to bring up. Okay. 2 things.
Okay.
So, first of all, when they're discovering the sex tapes, interesting how they just get to sit and watch sex tapes. I find that interesting that, this is the job. Like, sometimes you gotta sit and watch the sex tapes because this is evidence. Like, I find that just so fascinating. Like, well, yeah, time to watch the sex tapes, guys.
I have a side story for you off the podcast specifically about that. But yes.
Wonderful.
But yes, when that's your job, I can't, like, oh my gosh.
And then the second thing I wanted to bring up, again, this is how I find it fascinating. So how Bones mistakes the roommate for Nestor.
Oh.
Like, again, this is what I mean, where it's like, you're trying to believe that she is the most...
Couldn't she tell by his parietal bones?
Right. Like, I'm just like, I love you, Bones, but here's another inconsistency. Like, you're trying to say, this is what you do. You just know. Mm-hmm. But here, you just mistaken Tucker for Nestor, who was sleeping with the mom of Camden's mom. So I was like, interesting. Plot twist. Yep. But, everyone just, we set that aside.
I agree.
But yeah, so going back to what you're saying, we're getting to the Special K.
Yes, getting the Special K. So they figure out that he had ketamine in his system. Mm-hmm. And Hodgins' indigestion inspires Bones to realize that... that stomach acids in Nestor's esophagus kind of weakened his hyoid bone, allowing it to crack. Yep. So that's when they run some more scenarios through the Angelatron.
And if you notice, when you walk in, you like how there's already just I don't know what Angela was doing because she was on her computer, but you like how on the hologram, there's already scenarios of it just snapping. Yes. Over and over again. I'm like, all right. Just imagine just walking in, no clue what's going on, and you just see snap.
Snap. Absolutely.
Snap, crackle, pop.
Yep. So they figure out that that's why the hyoid bone cracked was over the days of him hanging there. Mm-hmm. The stomach acids built up and basically like, okay, this is a suicide. And Booth is like, nope, this is not a suicide. You're wrong.
Right.
So then Angela...
Like he's really defending this.
Yep. And then Angela talks to Bones about it and basically is talking to her about, trusting her own instincts and intuition. Mm-hmm. And Bones seems just like... She's frustrated because she even says, I'm the one interested in finding the truth, and everybody's got an agenda. Even the police officer who's trying to solve this case has an agenda.
Right.
And you kind of see how much the truth means to her because that's how she cares for the victims.
Right.
That if she can be as rigidly unbiased and she can find the truth, that's how she cares for them. That's how she brings justice.
Exactly. And I love that. I just love that. And knowing that there are people, characters, but knowing that there are people out there like her.
And that's why I loved her character, how it's so much for, let's look at the evidence. What does the evidence say?
And it's really trying to emphasize that. And people, give people the benefit of the doubt. And I really, really like that.
Me too.
But earlier in the scene, before they discover the Special K, Zack reveals that he did have sex with Naomi.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't good. So then he wants to get sex advice from Booth.
Oh.
And here again, Booth totally dismisses him again. But you just see, like, Zack's like, help me.
I know.
Like, he's looking at Booth like he's a sex god. Like, help me. Like, Father, have done wrong.
Like, the poor guy. All he wants to do is right by Naomi. Naomi don't care. Hodgins don't care. Booth don't care.
Ain't nobody caring. Ain't nobody giving him the time of day. Like,
know,
poor Zack.
guy.
We're already almost done with the episode. He's still on it about Naomi.
Yeah, it's messed up.
It is. So, moving on to, more of the sex tape.
So then they look at them again.
Yeah.
And they see that Camden. I want to say Cameron.
It's because, Camden, I mean, in my opinion, I've usually known Camden as a male name, not as much as a female name. So it's interesting how they made it a female name in this.
Yeah. I feel like it's one of those white people made up names. Like, where it's just kind of like...
One of those names.
Yeah, it just got that. It's just got that vibe to it. But at the same
time, I feel like it's also been around for a while because I remember knowing that name from a while ago. So
that's
it's
true.
Probably been around back then. Just one of those names that died out.
For good reason. I mean, just kidding. If your name is Camden, I love you.
We love you so much.
But basically, they find out that she knew the camera was on.
Yes.
Right.
Like, this is them. So this is the gang was, they were reviewing the tape again.
Yeah. And Bones is the one who figures it out. I'm like, look at you looking at body language.
Right. Okay. The zooms, though. The zoom on the seahorse and then the zoom on the eye roll. Really, technology?
That's
Seriously?
that CSI effect at work.
Movie magic.
You zoom in on a 2005 camcorder video and you get that HD resolution.
4K.
4K. To where you see the frickin' goosebumps on her chest.
Right.
That was ridiculous. But anyways, they confront her on it.
Yes, they do confront her.
So she informs that she gave Tucker permission to sleep with her mom.
Disgusting.
And Camden and Tucker decided to record Camden having sex with Nestor to blackmail him. Mm-hmm. And...
Well, are you okay?
Yes.
Are you good?
Technical
Are you alive?
Yes, I'm okay.
Hello, are you out there?
Okay, so anyways.
Pig had some technical difficulties. We
Yes.
apologize, guys.
So she gives Tucker permission. They're blackmailing Nestor. And I hate Camden so much.
Yes.
Because literally she's saying this stuff like, oh, I always liked him. I thought he was cute. And I'm like, okay, then why did you blackmail him and help kill him if you liked him so much?
Right. Like, why would you do that? Like, that takes, like, the whole concept of, oh, if he hits you, he likes you to a whole other level. Like, oh, if she kills you, it means she loves you.
If she blackmails you into making a sex tape, then she cares.
She cares just a little bit. That's just enough. But if she kills you, cherry on top.
Yeah,
that means
most.
You made it. You made it. She loves you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And at this point, I was just like, bitches ain't shit.
Bitches be tripping.
They really knew. But I was like, really, girl? You gonna do them like that?
Yeah, it's so messed up.
They really are.
And she decides to cooperate and snitches on Tucker.
Tucker. Tigger, is that you?
Wow.
Winnie the Pooh, are you here?
Snitches on Tucker. Oh my god, it's late. It's snitches
okay.
on Tucker for a deal.
Yes.
And
because bitches ain't shit.
Yeah, she sucks.
She does.
She really sucks. And also, I would have loved to see some justice happen for Mrs. Destry.
Right.
For her statutory rape. Like, we just lightly glazed over that.
Right.
Like, the most she gets is called a perv by her daughter.
Okay. So this is my thought when we got back to the lab when, Bones and Booth were filling... Well, it was Bones mostly filling in the ambassador on what happened to Nestor.
Yeah.
And what happened, my first thought was like, oh, poor mom goes through so much with her kids hearing, all her only kids hearing, only to have him murdered because of a skanky mom.
Yeah, true.
Like, seriously?
Well,
Mrs.
skanky
Destry,
mom and messed up kids.
Mrs. Destry is the real villain in this. Like, seriously, honey? But then we're going to focus on Camden, though. We're going to focus on Camden. But really, the real villain here, it starts with a horny, skanky mom.
Yeah.
Come on now. And we're just totally going to, not even touch upon it.
Nope. Not even a little.
Not even a little.
Yeah, I feel so bad for her, but I really liked how Bones was able to kind of comfort her and give them
closure.
And that was really nice.
It's really telling her, Nestor was a good man and died trying to do the right thing. And he really was. It's just the damn headmaster, the damn mom's kid, Camden.
Yeah, they were all horrible.
All of them. And then, of course, Tucker ain't even gonna involve in this. Like, here he is. He got to bang a mom, make a sex tape with the mom. Mm-hmm. Now he has a free room for himself. And he helped with the murder, but, he wasn't really the one who did it.
So Camden got the deal because she snitched on Tucker. So Tucker's gonna get more of a sentence, and Camden's gonna get a plea deal because she's talking. Unless Tucker, decides to snitch on Camden and it's a back and forth. But basically, either one of them or both of them's gonna get something.
Wow. This kind of gives me Hustler vibes, because the other night, Pig and Panda were watching Hustlers, and if you guys seen the ending, that's kind of how it be feeling. Spoilers, guys.
You do the same thing. That's what happens. And honestly, if it were me, I'd go with a plea deal, because it works better in your favor.
Right.
For real.
And another thing is that, even at the lab, though, I love the way Booth says temperance. Like, it just rolls so nice the way he says it. And he only says it so much. Mm-hmm. So it's nice. It's really nice to hear.
I think we're just in love with Booth.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
I mean, can you blame us?
No. I mean, I don't blame us.
I mean, are you really a Bones fan? If you did have a thing for either Booth, Hodgins...
If you didn't have a thing for every single person in the cast.
If you weren't a simp for any of them.
Seriously.
So now we're back at Wong Fu's, the Chinese restaurant again.
Yeah, but we're back to simping for Zack because he's such a sweetheart.
And we're listening to Angela give her sexual wisdom to Zack. And how Zack is just like, everything contradicts itself. I just don't understand.
But Angela actually gives him really good advice.
She does, and you gotta give her credit for that.
She tells him that basically he needs to go to Naomi and say, look, I don't know anything. I want you to teach me.
Yep.
And honestly...
It's all about communication.
It's all about communication. If Naomi would have just said, like, I'm so into this B plot where I'm like, Naomi, you're the problem here.
Yes.
If Naomi
Granted,
would have said...
we're biased for Zack.
But even so, if you analyze it, okay. So they have a sexual encounter, right? Mm-hmm. It obviously didn't go well. Yes. She says, you need to take a hint. If you don't know, I don't know. He's like, but I don't know. I understand the words, but I don't understand what they all mean. What did I do wrong?
Right.
And she doesn't want to tell him. She wants him to do...
Just figure it out.
Mental gymnastics.
Take a hint.
To read her mind.
Right.
And if she would have said, hey, look... This wasn't that great. And he'd be like, look, I don't really know what I'm doing.
She was in paleontology, wasn't she?
Yeah, dinosaur lady.
She's Ross.
She's Ross from Friends.
Why. Yes, that's why. Yeah,
passive aggressive.
It makes sense. Think about it. Think about how Ross did so many girls so wrong.
Yeah.
It's a paleontology thing.
You know what? We're going to make that a stereotype. People who are into paleontology are passive-aggressive.
Yes, and just don't want to communicate.
True. But Angela gives solid advice, does. I hope it works out.
I hope so, too. And this is also around the time Booth comes in, and he's just like, what the hell, guys? Like, this is my place.
You know what I just thought of?
What do you think?
Because we watched Shrek yesterday.
Yes.
This is my swamp. That's what I was thinking.
It really was.
He walks in, this is my swamp. What are you misfit fairy tale creatures doing here? This is my place. Get off my bar.
Yep.
You know, and then Bones walks up to him, and she like is talking about he has this subconscious ability to read body language.
Yes.
And I feel like this is where Bones' fascination with Booth's intuition, you know, starts to
it really
rise.
shows, and more heart in her.
Where you see her like admiring his abilities.
Like she's like even like, I want to learn from you.
Yes.
I want to learn more about you. Like you fascinate me.
Mm-hmm. And you see that carry on where in other episodes where she talks about his ability to
like she's proud of him. And I think that's not only in relationships but even friendships. It's nice to have that solid part where you're just proud of who you have as a companion in your life, you know?
Yep. And he finally gets that security card.
Okay, back up first. Okay. Because you remember the part before he gets the security card. Mm-hmm. Bones speaking Latin. That's hot. I was like, dang, okay, Bones.
Yes,
maybe you did something to me, too.
Like, ooh, I felt that sexual tension through the screen.
Right. I'm like, my ears are trembling.
There is that thing about foreign languages that
They roll off the tongue.
They do.
And it's just like, wow. Wow.
They work very nicely.
But Booth's face on the ID card, though, it's so serious.
It is. He don't look like the type of guy who wants to smile in a picture.
No, I know, right? Yes. His face, though, was just so funny. He's just like, I approve. Like, he looks so serious, my dear.
He does look serious. But you know what? He's our sweet little puppy.
Who finally got his security card.
Yes, he did.
And now he can shut up about his security card.
But Bones will not shut up about getting a gun.
She really won't.
Even though she could get one on her own.
It's not even that serious, honey.
No. And then that's where the episode zooms out and...
Yeah, that's the end of that episode. I hope you guys enjoyed our commentary.
The following program contains themes and images that may not be suitable for most audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
And now we will move on to our true crime segment with Wikipedia.
Yes.
What you got for today, my dear?
Alrighty, so I'm not going to reveal the connection until the end of it, okay?
Okay. Let's see this take.
Okay.
And action.
So, class, if you open up the PowerPoint to slide 1.
To slide 1.
You will see the beautiful Adrienne Shelly.
Adrienne Shelly.
She's an actress.
I was about to say, I'm like, this looks like an actress.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Have you seen the movie Waitress?
I've heard a lot about it. Isn't that also a musical?
Yes.
Yeah. So I've never actually seen it or anything.
She wrote, co-starred in, and directed it.
Wow, multi-talented.
A multi-talented queen. We love a multi-talented queen.
We love multi-talented queens.
So, quick bio. She was born June 24th, 1966.
Oh.
And her stage name is Adrienne Shelly, but her born name is Adrienne Levine, I don't know.
Interesting.
American actress, film director, screenwriter.
Okay.
You know, so, and as you know, I mentioned Waitress.
Yes.
Now a Broadway show, okay?
Yes.
So, on November 1st, 2006, at around 9:30, Andy Ostroy, her husband, drops off Adrienne at the Abingdon Square apartment in Manhattan's West Village. She uses this apartment as an office. Okay. She didn't reach out to Andy all day, though, so he starts getting concerned at around 5:45 p.m.
At least he gets concerned. I appreciate that.
So he goes to the apartment building, and he asks, I can't remember if it was the doorman or the superintendent.
But he has someone
to come up to the apartment with him.
Okay.
So he goes in the apartment, and the front door is unlocked. And he goes in the bathroom, and he sees Adrienne hanging from the shower rod.
Oh my God.
Over the bathtub.
Oh my God.
With a bed sheet around her neck.
Oh my God.
So the door was unlocked.
That's horrifying.
Yep. Absolutely horrible. Like, can you imagine?
That sounds like a lot of work, too.
You just drop off your wife just to do some work, and you come back to your apartment, and you see this scene. Like, out of a horror movie.
That is terrible. It doesn't even sound real. This is real?
This is real. 2006.
Oh my God.
The door was unlocked.
How old was she?
So this was 2006. She was 40.
She's 40.
And they have a 2.5-year-old.
Oh my God.
Sophie.
I don't think she killed herself.
So the door was unlocked and money was missing from the apartment.
Oh yeah, she did not kill herself.
So the New York Police Department would not agree with you initially. They believed that she took her own life because the autopsy found that she died as a result of neck compression.
Okay.
Andy refused to believe this. He's like, there's no way Adrienne killed herself. She was happy in both her personal and professional life.
Right.
So, this was 2006. Waitress didn't come out until 2007, so she was waiting to hear back about Waitress being accepted at Sundance Film Festival.
Okay, so, wow, okay.
So she wrote, co-starred, and directed this film, and she never got to see it released.
Wait, the film? She
Yeah.
didn't even get to see the film?
No, it didn't release until 2007.
I thought we were talking about the Broadway for that.
No, the
So
movie
the film.
came out in
God.
2007. She didn't even get to see it, and it was so popular.
So the Broadway one came out way later.
Oh yeah, that's within the last so many years.
Okay.
Yeah, so she didn't even get to see, like, the fruits of her labor.
Oh my, I hate when that happens. Oh my God.
So everyone says that she was, like, just so full of life and so aware of her mortality, but not in a creepy way, in a way of, like, you never know if you're gonna have tomorrow.
Yeah, like, she looks so happy in this
She's
picture.
very full of life. If you look at the next page, you see the picture of her daughter, and her husband.
Yeah, they look happy. The daughter's adorable.
I know. Her name is Sophie. She's 2.5 years old.
That's so sad.
And she loved being a mom.
That's sad.
Yeah, so
Oh
he's
my
like,
God.
there's no way she killed herself.
Right.
So they're persistent. They push it. And the police actually listen. And,
wow.
And they take another look at the crime scene. And they see on the toilet next to her body, there's a sneaker print that's in gypsum dust. And the print was matched.
Gypsum dust is.
It's like you'd find at like a construction site. I think it's in like drywall or something.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that.
All right.
So the print that they found in the bathroom, it matched another set of prints in the building where there was construction going on.
Yeah.
The construction was going on the day that she died. So the shoe print
could have came from a construction worker.
Yep. So the investigators go to the building owner, Luis Hernandez.
Okay.
And they're like, look, we clearly whoever's doing this is wearing these type of shoes. Right. Do you know anybody like that? And he's like, well, there is a guy who wears sneakers to work, but there's no way he could have done it. Like, he's a good kid, That's
what they all say.
So, on November 6th, 2006...
So how much time has passed since they found her body?
5 days.
Okay, 5 days later.
Diego Pilco, a 19-year-old man, is arrested. Okay?
Okay.
Pilco is an Ecuadorian immigrant. He's in the States illegally, but he's working for Bradford General Contractors, which is the company that's doing the construction in the building.
Okay.
Pilco, he lived with his cousin. He worked 6 days a week in construction, and even on his days off, he was working as a superintendent.
So he's a workaholic.
But he's working hard because when he had to pay coyotes to bring him into the U.S., so he owed money. So he's working hard to pay off that debt.
He has a lot of debt. That sucks.
Yes.
That's never hard. I mean, that's never easy. It's always hard.
No. It's a really tough situation to be in. So once he's in custody, Diego confesses to staging Adrienne's death to look like a suicide.
What?
In his first confession, Diego says that Adrienne complained of the noise from the bottom floor.
I was about to say, I feel like it has something to do with her complaining.
From the construction, right?
Yeah.
Diego says that they argued, and he threw a hammer at her.
Oh, shit.
So she comes down on the floor where they're doing the construction. Let's say she's complaining. They're arguing. He throws a hammer at her, and she walks away. So he's scared that she's going to complain and that he's going to get deported.
Yeah.
You know, he's working so hard
because he just threw the hammer, even though it didn't hit her.
Yeah. He said he was having a bad day.
He was just having a bad day, and she just caught him on a bad night.
I'm just going to say, even on my bad days, I'm not necessarily throwing hammers at people.
I ain't gonna throw a hammer. Maybe I'll throw someone, but I ain't gonna throw a hammer at you.
No.
So did he strangle her?
So he follows her back to the apartment.
Because he's scared.
So he says that Adrienne hit him. Now, Adrienne, look at her. She's this little thing. He says he hit her, or she hit him, and there was a struggle, and that resulted in her falling and dying from the fall.
Wait. What were they on, like stairs or something?
I couldn't find a specific description of where, but I'm assuming it's in the apartment.
Okay.
So,
jeez.
The second story he gives is that while he was on a break in the construction, Adrienne was coming into her apartment and he followed her. He assaulted her, leaving her unconscious, faking the suicide.
Just 'cause.
I'm guessing that's the second confession.
No, what the hell? He has
right?
So the first one made more sense. The second one, bro.
Well, you know what? I will have
sound like a stalker.
I have to contradict you here because the second one is actually more in line with the evidence than the first one.
Wow.
Because there wasn't any dust found on Adrienne's shoes. And she wasn't even wearing any shoes. So, if she had gone down,
she would have had dust.
She would have had the dust on her shoes, but there's nothing. So it's more consistent that he
followed her,
came to the apartment.
So he was stalking her, and he was probably like, "Oh, famous lady."
But here's the most messed up part. Okay.
Okay.
What he didn't know was that when he hung Adrienne, she was still alive.
Oh my god.
She was just unconscious.
Oh my god.
So if he would have not staged the suicide, she would have survived.
Wow. Yeah. So he thought when he assaulted her
that she was dead.
Why did he even assault her in the first place?
So, Pilco pleads guilty to first-degree manslaughter.
Okay.
And he's sentenced to 25 years. So people are kind of upset at first because why wasn't he charged with first-degree murder or whatever?
Right.
Well, just because of the nature of the crimes where he thought she was already dead, blah, blah, blah. The prosecution felt they had a better chance of maintaining this conviction than had they gone to court and he could plead down to an even lesser charge.
So they were just trying to get the most out of the situation.
Yeah. So at Pilco's sentencing, March 13th, 2008, so 2 years later after she's dead.
Okay.
He gave a third story.
Oh my gosh.
So here's some information when it comes to how people are convicted.
Okay.
So initially, someone's arrested, they're charged with a crime.
Right.
Then they have this thing called an initial appearance.
Okay.
That's when they show up and the judge determines whether or not they're gonna be put on bail or whether they're gonna stay in custody, and they set a date for court.
That's why it takes so long. The whole process takes forever.
They set a date for court, and that's the trial, okay?
Right.
Then you can be convicted at the trial.
Right.
But you don't get sentenced. You don't know what time you're going to get yet. Because there is certain information that is allowed to get into a trial. Like sometimes they'll throw it out. They'll say that's not relevant.
Yeah.
But at the sentencing, since someone's convicted, they can consider evidence that couldn't make it into trial to determine what someone's sentence is. So at this third kind of court case is the sentencing. So this is why at this time he's providing another confession, because he's hoping that this confession will
help him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So he's already convicted. He's going to get something.
Okay.
But this
will
point,
determine
he's
how
like,
much. Hopefully I don't get as much this time. Okay. So what does he say?
So he says that he wanted to rob her instead, and that when Adrienne caught him, he attacked her, and then he tied the sheet around her neck to choke her and hung her from the curtain rod. But this doesn't really make sense because she was unconscious. Yeah. So he gets sentenced anyway. At the sentencing, though, here's like the saddest part, and my hope is to make you cry.
Oh, what the hell?
I'm just kidding.
The evil.
So Adrienne's husband and the family members at the trial say that they'll never forgive him. At the sentencing, sorry. And at the sentencing, the victims of the crime or the families of the victims can provide these things called called victim statements.
Okay.
And this is basically where they can speak directly to the judge or to the defendant. Just kind of saying what they think, and these things are considered in the sentencing.
Just so they can get closure for themselves?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And it's also included to show, like, how much damage that person has done by committing that crime.
Yeah. By them hoping that it shows, like, hey, you are a shitty person.
Mm-hmm. So he says, these are just a collection of some quotes.
Okay.
So he says, I want you to suffer like she suffered.
Damn.
No sentence would be enough for you. You deserve the same fate you handed Adrienne.
That's so sad.
You are nothing more than a cold-blooded killer, a murderous beast who, in an intent to rob, rape, and then silence your innocent victim, took the life of a beautiful, loving woman who, unlike you, had so much to give to society.
That's so sad.
And then when he says in remembering...
There's so much love in him, too.
And then when he says in remembering her, he says, Adrienne was the kindest, warmest, loving, generous person I knew. She was incredibly funny, smart, talented, a bright light, with an infectious laugh and a huge smile that radiated inner and outer beauty. She was my best friend, and the person with whom I was supposed to grow old.
That's sad.
That's so sad.
What? Grow old with?
Well, that's the quote.
But how long did they know each other?
Andy,
Adrienne, like how long were they married at least?
I don't know. I didn't look it up. That's
so sad. Oh, is this the picture of Diego?
Yep. I couldn't find a good one of his face, but that's him when he was getting arrested.
He looks the stereotypical looking like a thug. Like
I know. Him, but he's 19 years old. And it's like, if you're having a bad day, like, oh my gosh, what a panic.
Wait, so what do you think happened then?
Well, I think it's probably a combination of all three stories. Mm-hmm. So in the first story, he's basically saying he had a bad day and he was freaking out. Mm-hmm. The second story, he says he wanted to rape her, basically, and then he followed her. And the third one says that he was trying to rob her.
Wanted to rob. Oh, the robbing was the third one?
Uh-huh. I think it's probably a combination of all of them. She very well could have complained about the sound, because, I mean, that apartment was her office, so she's doing work there.
Yeah.
So she could have complained about it in passing or something.
Right.
You know. I think it's probably a combination of all three somewhere. The truth is in there. But
I have a kind of thought of how the scenario could have went down, too. I think what could have happened is, yes, there was sound and she was complaining. I feel like she was probably a consistent complainer too, especially because of her status and her trying, she's about to come out with this movie and stuff. Like, she's working really hard. And I feel like...
Complainer, maybe not for the sake of being a complainer, but like knowing that things need to be a certain way for her to get something done. Like,
right.
Very passionate.
Yes. So I feel like it was very consistent, and it may have, pissed him off, and he probably seen her and was just like, I'd hit that type of situation.
Yeah.
And then eventually, one day he probably just had it with her, and he was just probably just angry and, financial situations. And he was like, when he figured out who she is, he's like, she has money. I think I'm going to go get that.
Do you think he even knew who she was?
Well, that's what I mean. I said, I think he figured it out eventually because, she's working there. Because she was kind of famous at this time, wasn't she? She was an actress at this time?
She wasn't very famous. She had done more indie films.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, like, maybe he figured out something. Like, she has money, obviously. Like, he's thinking, like, oh, she got money because
I think at the very least he knew that she had some kind of money.
That's what I mean. Is I think he was just like, oh, she got money. Like, I'm struggling. I'm having a bad day. This bitch won't get off my back type of situation. Mm-hmm. So then when one day he decided to follow her, figure out where she's at. And I think he broke in or maybe even just went in. And he did pretty much, I think he probably knocked her out. Mm-hmm. I think he raped her. And then I also think he realized, oh, shit, like or maybe he tried to rape her and then knocked her out.
Yeah.
In the process. Because, she probably was like, hell no. And I think when he realized, oh, shit, I think I killed her. He was like, I need to frame it type of situation. So it looks like she hung herself. So there's no tie to me. Mm-hmm. And then he took the money and dipped. Yeah. That's what I think happened.
What messes me up is, like, clearly he was such a hard worker. Yeah. And he had gone through so much to get in this country.
Yeah.
That it's so sad.
It got wasted from one bad day.
All of that work. But also, like, you don't rape someone on a bad day.
You don't. And you shouldn't. It's wrong.
Like, that's not a bad day kind of thing. I had a bad day, so I accidentally yelled at somebody. It's not, I had a bad day, so I'm going to rape someone.
I'm going to stick my penis into someone who obviously wants nothing to do with me. And I'm going to violate them. Mm-hmm. Just because I'm having a bad day.
You don't do that on a bad day.
No. I don't care if you need sexual relief. Go jack off somewhere. Like, seriously.
Go take care of yourself. That's no way to deal with your bad day.
Exactly. So I don't know about, like, so what does it say? Where's he at now? Like, is he just serving? Mm-hmm. How's he doing? What's his deal? He's just in prison, just chilling? Mm-hmm. Piece of shit.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So my sources for this episode are, there's this podcast called Death in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. I watched a YouTube video by Georgia Marie. She has this series on her channel called The Midweek Mystery. Mm-hmm. I was looking at Murderpedia. And
which I just discovered is a thing.
And Wikipedia. So if you want to read more about Adrienne Shelly and her life, and maybe look into, what made her, mm-hmm. and her work. She's got some other great movies out there, too. Yeah.
And if you guys have any recommendations on what you've seen of her, maybe you want us to check out, or you just mm-hmm. had some fun facts, let us know. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so the connection of why I picked this episode mm-hmm. was the fact of...
they thought that it was suicide.
The staged suicide, but also how adamant the family and loved ones were of how much they knew the victim mm-hmm. and knew that they wouldn't have committed suicide.
My thing is I was sitting there and I was like, a 40-year-old trying to literally, work on this bedsheet to create a noose for themselves. That must be exhausting.
But also...
to do for yourself.
The main thing
like, even
is,
then, I don't think it would do it.
women don't hang themselves.
Yes.
Women don't do that. Women will take
that.
drugs and overdose.
Yes.
Maybe they'll cut their wrists.
Yeah.
But women don't hang themselves. And that's the biggest red flag to me of confused of why the police didn't look further. That women don't hang themselves. They just don't. I mean, obviously there's probably some that have, but on average you're not going to see that.
Do that.
Mm-mm.
Well, that was a sad one.
I know.
That was incredibly sad.
I know, it was a bummer. But you got to hear about her lovely life. I
did. And now I'm very intrigued. And now I feel like I should watch the Waitress movie now.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's the episode.
And that was the true crime segment, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed.
Yep. We're here.
We are here. We are here for you.
We'll be back again next week with the next episode, which is The Man and the Bear.
The Man and the Bear.
Yup.
Catch you guys next week.
Yep. If I don't know if this is going to be a catchphrase or not, but you know what? If we haven't turned you off by now, like if you're still here, hang out. Don't turn us off.
Let's hang.
Let's hang out.
Turn us on.
Turn us on.
Let us be in your speakers.
Keep us turned on.
Let us be in your ears. Mm-hmm. I don't mind crawling into your brain. You know, maybe your skull is made out of Elmer's glue too.
Let us live rent-free in your Elmer's glue constructed skull.
I would like that. I'd like that very much. Yes.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Salutations.
And salutations.
And bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Next week on The Heart and the Bones.
That burger looked so juicy and delicious. Okay.
And it was human?
I felt so conflicted internally because I was like, man, that burger looks really, really good.
You can add that recipe to my cannibal cookbook, guys.